I did tell you guys, I think it's an ultimately good sign that Mike Kafka wanted to come be on the Detroit Lions staff. If you missed the open, we talked about how Mike Kafka, who got some head coaching interviews, who got a ton of offensive coordinator interviews, he's now hired to be on with the Detroit Lions. Really smart mind. He was the OC for the Giants last year, interim coach who had all those trick plays against the Detroit Lions. Lions interviewed him to be the OC. Didn't work out. They go with Petzing. They still get him on board. I think that's ultimately a sign that the Lions is an attractive place to be as a coach. You look at all these guys getting coaching jobs elsewhere, whether it's the two coordinators from last year, Glenn and Johnson, whether it's Shepard getting interviews to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, whether it's Antoine Randall L. following Ben Johnson to Chicago getting an upgraded role, or if it's Scotty Montgomery getting an interview with the Baltimore Ravens to be their OC. That happened yesterday as well. I think it's an attractive place, not only because of working under Dan Campbell, getting people jobs elsewhere and rising the coaching ranks, but also the roster's just really good and has a ton of blue chip talent on the offensive side of the ball. Why wouldn't you want to come help this team? From a macro standpoint, I think that's really awesome. From a micro standpoint, is there too many chefs in the kitchen between Dan Campbell, who's going to have a say on what happens in the offense, between Drew Petzing, who's the offensive coordinator, and we assume is the play caller, and Mike Kafka, who was, like, they're not bringing him on to have some insignificant role. Maybe he's the quarterback's coach. They already kind of have a quarterback. Maybe he's the passing game coordinator. Who knows? But it's not like he's going to have some insignificant role on the team. He's going to voice his opinion. And I'm sure the Lions understood that bringing him in. But is this a prime example of, well, we've got three different guys kind of that have called plays on the same offense? There is a scenario where that doesn't work out. And there's too many people. I don't think that's going to happen. I think under Dan Campbell, it wouldn't. There's a scenario where that works out that way, though. And that would be the one reason to be like, I don't love the Mike Kafka hire.
I would lean that it like the same as you, where it doesn't seem like that would happen. But I don't know. After Dan Campbell took back play calling from John Morton last year,
yeah,
it showed his ability to be like, no, this is wrong. I need to do this.
And luckily for the Lions last season, John Morton was kind of a pushover when that happened and was like, I'm willing to do anything for Dan. I'm still here to help this team win a Super Bowl. That's my only...
I'll sit up in the press box and pick my nose during the game.
Whatever. He was content being told he wasn't going to be the OC anymore. Now there's a lot of voices in here, and I don't know if these guys are going to be more so relaxed with that sort of stuff. I don't know how that dynamic's going to work. Maybe we never find out. I am very curious to see how they balance those three minds, though, and three different people having a stay in how the offense goes. And that doesn't even bring up assistant head coach Scotty Montgomery.
Right. Well, and I think it also plays, though, you could look at it in the reverse way, where Dan Campbell brings in a secondary guy to say, there's no world where I'm taking over play calling. They'll figure it out. These two guys will figure this out.
That might even be more concerning. It's like, yeah, Drew, we don't really like the way you're doing it. Now Kaf is going to call plays. No,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying those two together as minds should be able to figure it out where it's not going to go that poorly.
Yeah, but didn't we have this last year with David Shaw and John Morton, where it was like, oh, David Shaw's the run game guy, and he's going to come in, and these guys have been a pairing everywhere for the last 15 years. They've traveled everywhere together and coached together. Didn't we kind of have the same thing last year?
Sure. I also, though, think noting, Kafka never really was a play caller until he took over once Dable was fired. He was just Dable's OC his whole time in New York. Dable called the plays,
Yeah.
So it's not like he's been a play caller for 4 years now and boom, out of nowhere, it's like, now you're not. And he's taking this job as well. He's got to know what he's getting himself into. So I'm not too worried about it. I would rather have him than not and have the case of I don't know, it might be a little bit too much. I think it's a good thing, personally, especially with I know that you just talked about it with the run and passing with Morton and Shaw, but with the run-heavy style that we know Drew Petzing wants to bring, Mike Kafka, if we're a QB, he brings that passing game element there, so I like it.
I think I ultimately like it. It's just there is this one specific path where it's if that happens, we're all of a sudden talking about not only hey, the Lions have a cultural, it's not a cultural thing, but a big picture wise, we're talking about how on earth did they screw up this bad again for the second consecutive offseason and really for the third time overall with when they've decided to hire their offensive coordinator, if you include the Anthony Lynn signing as well back in Dan Campbell's inaugural season with the Lions. Now we're talking about, do we trust this organization to put together a staff? And the answer quickly becomes no if this doesn't work out. If there is ever once a report that, yeah, the Kafka, Campbell, Petzing relationship, it feels like, people are trying to step on each other's shoes. We saw this happen in Philadelphia time and time again. If we get any of that stuff, that is number one way that this thing gets torn down. And it's like, whoa, this team actually has some big picture problems that we didn't know about before. I ultimately don't think that's going to happen, and I'm not trying to put fear in anyone's mind that that's going to, but it's at least worth bringing up of, is there too many chefs in the kitchen? Because there's a lot of people that probably would prefer Mike Kafka is actually the head coach or the offensive coordinator over Drew Petzing. Mike Kafka was next to McDaniel for the top guys that people wanted to be the Lions head coach. People I trust.
Offensive coordinator, yep.
Yes. Sorry, I keep saying that. People I trust, the writers I read, a lot of people wanted Mike Kafka to be the OC, even over McDaniel. So the fact that he's in a smaller role it's going to lead to some question marks if Drew Petzing's offense all of a sudden isn't working. It's like, hey, it's the wrong guy calling the plays.
Yeah, that would be something that, and honestly, the issue is that could probably come pretty quickly.
Yes.
If things don't look awesome immediately, that's going to be brought up, which is not exciting. I don't love that. Yeah, it's not
now
exciting.
I'm talking myself into not enjoying the Mike Kafka hire, which it's stupid. You add a good mind to the coaching staff.
A guy that
we
wanted as the OC, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's ultimately a win. There's just, I thought it was worth bringing up the too many chefs in the kitchen comparison, which is classic, but also just it happens once in a while. And this is a candidate for that at the very least.
Yeah, but at least they're both bald, though, so they can at least be bond. They won't have beef.
That's could be true. I don't know. Maybe bald people don't get along. I have no idea.
No. It's a complete opposite.
Can there only be one bald person in a room at a time? I have no idea.
Be the bald guy. Yeah, that's true.